30.
The Elder Scrolls V Skyrim. The Cartridge brothers have tasked me with trying to say in 30 to 45 seconds what I can't condense into that small of a time period. Skyrim is one of my favorite games of all time, and I've spent countless hours inside just running around looking for dungeons and clearing castles and destroying bandits. It's one of my favorite games of all time, and I absolutely love it.
Streets of Rage 2, known as Bare Knuckle 2 in Japan, is a side-scrolling beat-em-up released in 1992 on the Genesis in North America and 1993 in PAL territories in Japan on the Mega Drive. This is the sequel to Streets of Rage 1 and features newcomers Skate and Max, joining returning fighters Axel and Blaze as they seek justice against the vile Mr. X, who has kidnapped their friend, Adam Hunter. Each character possesses a unique moveset as well as power and speed attributes, and the amazing soundtrack, composed by the legendary Yuzo Koshiro, keeps you hyped up and in the mood for beating down a variety of thugs through 8 unique stages. My brother was an early adopter of the Sega Genesis, and I used to sneak into his room while he was at work to play Streets of Rage 2, always making sure to return his room as I had found it, to avoid getting pummeled. But I tell you, this game was always well worth the risk.
I love Sonic the Hedgehog 2. It took what made the original Sonic the Hedgehog game great and made it a whole lot faster. Not only that, but Sonic has a sidekick, a two-tailed fox named Tails. He's almost as fast as Sonic, but he can also fly. I don't know why, but this was mind-blowing to an 8-year-old me. This game has one of my favorite video game soundtracks. I still find myself popping the tunes just so I can hear Chemical Plant Zone or Casino Nights. Who could forget the panic you would have looking for an air bubble as that drowning music kicks in? This game is so good that even though Sonic hasn't put out a good game in years, I still get excited for a new Sonic game announcement.
Cracking the case in 30 seconds.
Halo Combat Evolved, a sci-fi first-person shooter, and the first game in the Halo series. I remember playing Halo for hours on end on Xbox Live, and later on PC. We had so much fun trying to find secrets and hidden areas, flipping warthogs all over the map. The online video series Red vs. Blue was also created using the Halo engine with in-game footage. It was a riot to watch.
It's me!
Super Mario 3D World. I don't think this game gets the love that it deserves. I get it though. Ever since Super Mario 64, 3D Mario games have been exercises in exploration and ever-expansive worlds that let the player experience a freedom not present in the 2D Mario counterparts. Super Mario 3D World is almost none of that. Instead, 3D World is a selection of exquisitely crafted but contained levels, super tight controls, and pure and simple old-school platform goodness. In other words, it is a perfect interpretation of the 2D Mario games in a 3D space. Fans of the series keep clamoring for a real Mario game. Well, it doesn't get more Mario than this.
Contra. If you grew up in the 80s with the NES and were asked to name the first run-and-gun side-scroller that comes to mind, Contra would certainly be the game that leaps off your tongue. As a two-player co-op game, this was a great game to play with a friend as you ran along shooting and jumping your way through various levels of aliens and ammo. With a variety of weapon upgrades, enemies, and gameplay perspectives, Contra offered a fast-paced, action-packed challenge that never ceased to entertain. Having superb graphics, outstanding controls, and one of the most memorable soundtracks in video game history, Contra has secured its place as a beloved classic and still feels fresh if you were to pop it in today.
Mega Man X. This is the perfect Mega Man game, and that's not hyperbole, that's a scientific fact. I'll admit that Mega Man 2 may be generally perceived as the most popular title in the series, but it's the Blue Bomber Super Nintendo reboot that remains the pinnacle of the series to this day. Forget about those silly kids games for the regular Nintendo. I mean, seriously, Plant Man, Tomahawk Man, Centaur Man, totally lame. This is the 90s. Haven't you heard? Everything's extreme now. Check this out. Storm Eagle. Yeah, or how about this Chill Penguin? Ooh, Boomer, Kawanger. Yeah, still not sure about that guy. But what I do know is how about Vile? Ooh, he's a purple Boba Fett, or Sigma, or Zero. Yeah, Zero's awesome. I don't know if he's a guy or a girl or what, but one thing's for sure, he uses a lightsaber like some sort of gosh darn robot Jedi or something. What the F? I can't even. Mega Man X took everything awesome about the original games, and just like the arm upgrade you can find in Flame Man the Stage as long as you already have the dash upgrade and head upgrade, supercharged it. The levels were more complex, the characters had more depth, you had heart tanks, sub-tanks, Dr. Light capsules, ride armor, heck, you could even do a friggin' Hadouken if you wanted to. This game has it all, and not only that, it spawned a bunch of great sequels, not X7. Several spin-off series, and for all intents and purposes, is the reason the franchise is still relevant today. Stick that in your plasma cannon and smoke it.
What is a man? A miserable little pile of secrets. But enough talk. How about you?
Castlevania Symphony of the Night. Castlevania Symphony of the Night is an action, side-scrolling role-playing game which came out in 1997 and was published by Konami. As any retro collector knows, as you play Alucard, you explore the castle one more time but in a whole new way. This time around the game sticks strong with its 2D side-scrolling roots, but now incorporates a level-up system and fairly deep weapon system. For me, my greatest memory of this game comes from way back in 1999. While I never progressed to the end of this one, it is definitely on my video game bucket list of games to complete. I missed out on the launch of this one and only encountered it at a local ma and pa rental store a couple years after its release. I finally got my chance to rent it though, and I was not disappointed. I played it religiously for the couple of days that I had it, to the detriment of my schoolwork at the time, but the experience would always stay with me. While impressed with the PS1 back in the day, I often found that the controls of other games were somewhat clunky, such as tank controls and the like. In Symphony of the Night, I found gameplay that was smooth as silk and quickly responding controls and accurate jumping. I was blown away by the sound of this game and laughed nearly every time someone spoke due to the utter campiness of the dialogue. While the gameplay was serious, the dialogue was cheesy voice acting at its finest, and I loved it all. Down the line, when I started retro collecting again, this was pretty high up on my list. If you love retro games that still stand the test of time, I highly recommend Castlevania Symphony of the Night. For all these reasons and more, Castlevania Symphony of the Night has made my top 100.
Mike Tyson's Punch-Out! In the NES version of this arcade hit, there are many differences to note. A smaller protagonist named Little Mac replaced the nameless, wireframe boxer from the arcade, Mario replaced the referee, and most notably, the addition of Mike Tyson himself as the final challenge. Unable to fully move around the ring, instead you are in a fixed position and are required to rhythmically dodge, counter-strike, and uppercut your opponents to defeat them. And the opponents themselves are one of the most interesting aspects of the game. A quirky cast of characters such as Glass Joe, Bald Bill, and King Hippo will dance, intimidate, and taunt you as you swing your way to the top. And speaking of the top, good luck figuring out how to beat Mike Tyson without the help of a guidebook, as he is infamously difficult. But not to worry, with unforgettable music, fun graphics, and addictive gameplay, you'll be sure to have fun nevertheless.
Number 21.
Super Mario RPG: Legend of the Seven Stars. This game is probably one of the most accessible and enjoyable RPG experiences out there. It takes the most beloved tropes of 90s Squaresoft RPGs like Chrono Trigger or Final Fantasy III and mixes them into the world of the Mushroom Kingdom, and it just works so perfectly. You of course play as Mario, who at first is just setting out to save the princess from Bowser yet again, but the story quickly transforms into this fantastic epic adventure where Bowser's no longer the antagonist.
and you play through with an unlikely cast of characters traveling through some really colorful and really memorable environments and some of the most hilarious dialogue you'll find in a game. Whether you guys are fans of RPGs or not, you owe it to yourself to set aside the time to dive in and try to stop Smithy and his gang from taking over the kingdom. It's a really memorable experience.